I like it.
All right, we're live.
Hey,
Dan, welcome.
You're
Welcome
live.
back. We're in the world headquarters.
welcome to my garage.
We did this quick little live thing last week. It felt more like a podcast, and that didn't feel like a fun way to do that because podcasts are podcasts, and us drinking whiskey on camera in your garage is a different thing.
It sure is.
So we have rebranded, as the kids say, to Friday Sips Live.
I like it. It's catchy.
And this week, and towards the beginning, but in the heat of whiskey season, the geeks are out. It is absolutely terribly ridiculous what's going on in the whiskey world yet again this year. And I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. I don't care if they didn't do a George Stagg this year. I don't care about Pappy. In fact, I wanted us to drink something bourbon-esque, but as far away from Kentucky bourbon as we can get.
Bourbon-y, but not bourbon.
Yeah. And so I brought this bottle. It's that bottle. This is Nika coffee grain whiskey. I've only had a sip of this one time. It was at our office.
Okay.
The bottle was sent to somebody on the team, and they did the correct thing, which is share it with the team. I was part of that team. And the first thing I thought when I sipped it was, my, that tastes like bourbon. But of course, it can't be bourbon because it's from Japan.
So tell me about the coffee grain. What's the difference?
Well, so it's a little misleading if you don't know the origin of coffee.
So it's not going to be coffee taste?
No. So a column still, like is used in most American whiskey production, is a form of the coffee still that a fellow named Coffee in the 1800s invented. It's a multi-layered plate-based system.
Okay.
This is distilled on that. It's notable that a Japanese whiskey would mention that because Japanese whiskey typically follows Scotch whiskey, and so they distill most of their single malt, or all of their single malt has to be on pot stills. So this is different. And you can't call it bourbon, but if I remember correctly, and I did not go back, this has been sitting on my shelf for 3 years. It's corn.
It's dew.
It's rye. It's malted barley.
Yeah.
It's all the things that would be in bourbon.
Yeah, it's all of the things we love so much.
Except the standing in line and the tatering and all that nonsense.
I tell you, it's getting a little absurd. And honestly, it's to the point where I just don't want to participate in that anymore.
And a screw top, a big plastic screw top.
We're
going all the way.
Oh my gosh.
Dan, may I pour you some?
By all means. A mark pour. I haven't had a mark pour in my glass in a while.
Well, look, the bottle's here. You drink all you want.
Yeah.
But the idea here, Dan, was I almost wanted to do this blind with you, but I didn't want it to get into blind shelfie throwdown territory. But that's the setup. You tell me if I hadn't told you what it was, would you or would you not think that tastes like a bourbon from somewhere?
Well, definitely. I mean, it smells bourbony. It's like a sweeter bourbon with a little ethanol in the nose. So I don't know. I mean, would I immediately say bourbon? I don't know. That's a good question. It's a little thin.
90 proof. I don't know that the mouth feels a little thin, but that is a butterscotchy.
It is.
Flavorful.
It's thin.
Whiskey.
It's thin, but it tastes great.
Yeah.
I love the taste. I wish it was bolder. I wish it had a little bit more, definitely more mouthfeel, but lovely taste.
Yeah, a little thin. Lovely flavor.
Yeah.
I don't get the slightest hint of alcohol on the palate.
I get it on the nose, but not on my tongue. It's a lot of orange. Do you get the orange?
I get something I can't quite pin down. I don't know if it's orange.
It's gone quick. That's why I can't.
See, to me, the finish hangs around a bit for 90 proof. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I don't know if it's butterscotch or toffee or something like that. That there's more of it than your typical bourbon.
Yeah, I mean, there's something there you're not getting. I wouldn't even say it's butterscotch or bourbon. It's a totally different flavor.
Yeah,
it's good. I like it. I like it. It's a light sipper. I would take this this would be great around like a campfire or something. You know.
I would do that. And price-wise, if you start talking about hauling off in the woods for camping, I think retail's around $70. I paid $50 for that bottle. And 50?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay $70 for it. That's for sure.
No.
That's not bad though. You know, it's funny. I mean, yeah, it's not a big mouthfeel, but I do feel like you're right. It does everything right. You know, it's got a decent enough nose. It's got a good, taste on the tongue.
I'm getting the orange now.
Yeah. I do wish it had a little bit bigger mouthfeel.
Yeah, if you are an old-fashioned fan or you make Manhattans with bourbon, this will not be something you want to use for that. Even at 90 proof, I imagine it would disappear pretty quick with anything else. And I don't have any.
Ooh, that was a good sip.
It's better. This is one of those ones I think we're going to like more when we live with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty good. So, Nika, coffee grain whiskey. Nika does all kind of cool stuff. One of the more sought after bottles is Nika from the Barrel, which is, I believe, a barrel proof single malt.
Right.
So I'm not super wise in the ways of Japanese whiskey. I don't see why I left it sitting this long. So I'm glad we opened it.
Yeah, I think that was a good open for sure.
So next up,
I've got
Friday Sips Live.
Yeah, I got to finish the Friday sip.
Another whiskey far from Kentucky.
Yeah, funny enough. So I talk a lot about spirits, wine provisions here in Arvada, which is where I buy a lot of my bottles. I keep forgetting that I'm in their like monthly whiskey club. Mm-hmm. So when I go down in there, Casey will say, "Hey, there's a bottle waiting for you." And I'm like, "Oh, yay!"
He doesn't forget.
No. I was like, "And I've already paid for it, so I don't have to feel bad about it." So this guy was their pick, and it's cask strength Journeyman Distillery. Cask strength, and just, they got this little neat, I don't know which camera I'm supposed to be looking at here.
This one right
Okay. It's got this neat little engraving here on the side. Cask strength, Warehouse 3, volume number 1, whatever that means. Barrel 0509, barrel size 30. Barreled on April 21st,
so a
2017.
30-gallon barrel?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. April 21st, 2017 was when it was barreled. Casey did tell me it was a mix of different vintages of bottles or barrels, and I don't remember what those vintages were. But this is distilled in Michigan, bottled in Michigan. It's their own thing. It's not just, they didn't just buy MGP.
Does that say 100% wheat whiskey?
Correct. Yep.
How about that?
And it's organic. 115.3 proof. So this will be interesting. I've never had, and this really follows up with the notion that I really would love to try more, whiskeys throughout the country from various places. Not necessarily. I mean, I still love my Kentucky bourbons, but it's always interesting to support.
We're not leaving.
Yeah, but it's good to support the little guy if I can get it open.
We did and we won't mention store names. Let's not mention store names.
Yeah.
But I'm involved in a little thing. I mention it in different videos, and it's this particular store's way of distributing allocated whiskey in as fair a way as possible. And essentially, the idea is that they go up and down a list. We get our turn to choose. We give them our top 5 from the list of available whiskeys. We're not getting into that one anytime soon.
Oh boy.
And then, oddly enough, not everybody responds. At some point after a few months, they've got bottles stacked up, allocated whiskey. And at some point, they just put them out on the shelf. And the club folks get a little bit of a heads up. We're not supposed to share that information with people. I didn't share that information with anybody. Apparently, a lot of people shared that information. So when I got there the other day, there was 100 people in line. And I don't do lines, so I left. No harm. I don't mind. I think it's incredibly hard for the stores to figure out what to do with highly sought after whiskey because we, the bourbon drinking public, are idiots. And we make it so hard. And you and I texted back and forth a few different scenarios. Well, just put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
Well, that's easy to say, but then they get 100 questions an hour of what do you got in the back? What's going to be on the shelf? When's it going to be on the shelf? You can say, well, just put it all in a lottery. Well, then they get beat up about the lottery rules. I don't know how the whiskey store wins. In this particular store, some of them win because they charge secondary prices for the bottles. This store doesn't. So they're not going to make really any more money off that bottle than they would if it was a regular bottle, but they got to put up with all that grief.
Yeah.
But as I stood there looking at that line,
I'll tell you,
I'm getting madder and madder about it.
I'm going to go ahead and fight you on this and say, I think the solution is just put the damn stuff on the shelf. And, if you have to answer the question 1,000 times a day of, hey, do you got anything back? That's just kind of how your industry goes. Deal with it. I'm sorry, but that's just part of what you got. I'm still cutting away at this bottle, by the way.
Stand by. First aid on standby, please. Dan has a box cutter and a bottle of whiskey.
I don't know what I'm cutting into here, but we're getting into layers.
Rant while you're doing it.
Please do.
I hate hate bottle wax.
Please don't do this.
It's one of the worst tatery things ever.
Please don't do it.
If your name as a distillery doesn't start with makers and end with marks, you have no maker's mark.
Maker's marks.
Whatever. If you're not maker's mark, please quit putting this crap on your bottle. I will say that Jim Beam made some sort of change recently and softened the wax.
Give me a
on
break.
their bottles so they open a little easier.
This is absurd.
Do you need some help?
No, I'm almost there. But come on, guys. I mean, you know, the wax looks nice, but if it takes me this long to open the bottle, I'm kind of just going to give up. But anyway,
if you don't hurry, I'm going to have some more of the Japanese whiskey.
What the heck? Give that a go. This is not going well. But I would say this. Please don't cut yourself. I am a firm believer that they should just put things on the shelf. And, you know, I'm sorry, but part of your industry is dealing with customers who are annoying. And that means answering the question, hey, you got anything in the back? With no, we put our stuff on the shelves. And if you happen to be in there and you see it on the shelf, you get to buy it. That's how it should work. I'm sorry, but there's no reason for all of this hoopla. I don't want to stand in lines. I don't care how much I like your store. I'm just not going to do it anymore.
I don't want to stand in lines either.
All right. Finally.
Okay, we got into the whiskey. I'd like everybody to note that it wasn't really that hard.
I loosened it. All right, what do we got here?
That smells beautiful.
Yeah. Ooh, wow. This is exciting.
That's fat and sugary.
Yeah, I would definitely say brown sugar. Lots of brown sugar here.
And new oaky.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. A lot of oak right up front.
Yeah, a little young oak there.
Yeah.
And I need to. So 100% wheat whiskey. Wheat whiskey is held, I should have checked this ahead of time, to the same standards as other like bourbon or rye. So 51% whiskey, wheat in the mash bill. This is 100% wheat. If it's 100% wheat, there's going to be some enzymes in there to get the old fermentation going in the early on in the process. And then I think it's still held to the same rules too, as well as no more than 160 proof off the still, in the barrel at no more than 125. And these were small barrels. These were 30-gallon barrels, you said, instead of 53s.
Yeah.
They do that to accelerate aging. There's more contact with the wood in the smaller barrels.
It's not bad. The nose was really exciting.
Yeah.
I liked the nose
And
a lot.
unfortunately, now that I tasted all that young oak,
Yeah.
it now is on the nose for
Yeah.
me, which is a shame.
And there's quite a bit of heat across the tongue. It's not a blast of heat like you would get from some higher proof stuff, and this is pretty high proof, 115.3. But it's like a consistent heat across the tongue.
I don't get the heat.
Really? I'm getting it. But mostly what I'm getting is oak.
I'm going to tell you what, it could just be the proof, but that has got a lovely mouthfeel.
It does.
Nice hug. Mm-hmm. All
It sticks
around
around.
the palate.
Yeah.
Decent finish.
Yeah. No, I think
The price on that, do you know?
it was 60 something bucks.
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, again, you know, with these smaller distilleries, you're always going to pay a little bit more because they can't do the smaller margins that the big guys can do.
And I'm all behind that.
Which is unfortunate because it is more of a commitment for you to buy in.
I'm gonna ask Dan a question here. Let's see.
Okay.
So, are you still a fan when they don't use the Oxford comma?
Oh my God. All right. For those of you who don't know, I'm a writer.
Mr. Journalist Man.
I'm a literary nerd. I am of the Oxford comma. I'm the pro Oxford comma nutcase over here. You said that, and I wanted to throw the bottle across the room, but I paid a lot of money for this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Maybe if I should have just.
I'm writing an email, Journeyman.
I should have gotten a Sharpie and fixed it for you.
Yeah. Oh, we're in big trouble here. No, that unsettles my literary nerd heart.
I've got to say though, that young oak thing is troublesome. Mm-hmm. But it is an enjoyable whiskey. I'm finding myself, I don't mind that so bad. And
No.
you know, maybe if I just tell myself it's not young char, it's chocolate.
You know what would be nice side by side with this is the Deer Hammer, because you know, again, it's combining a lot of the same things. It's sort of a younger whiskey that they're doing a lot of good flavorful things with. This has a ton more oak in it, I would say.
Yeah, I think what happens is, and speaking of Deer Hammer, Lenny helped us understand that. So the spirit goes in the barrel. This is a smaller barrel, which changes the calculus a bit. It sits in it first before it has time to work its way into the wood. There's a lot of char influence because the char is right there on the surface. As it works its way in, it takes time. And Lenny explained to us, there's a point that where it's been in a while but not long enough, that things are bad. It takes a turn down. This is not that. This has had time to get back out, but there's still a lot of that char, that fresh char in it before it spends a few more months or years moving in and out of the wood for the tannins and the vanillas and all that.
Yep.
A lot of people like that char flavor. I don't necessarily mind it. You know, I've got some of the Jim Beam still has that, like Old Tub has a lot of that. So that might be good to try together. Big distillery at what's going to be a 4-year whiskey versus small distillery. But I find this enjoyable largely because I'm such a fan of mouthfeel, and this has a wonderful mouthfeel.
I agree, and I think, you know, I would put this. I always talk about this with young whiskeys. It's like there's good ones and there's pretty bad ones, and this falls into the good category of a young whiskey. And I think I would lump this in with Deer Hammer and with Divine Spirits, Divine.
I think Deer Hammer is just a cut above everybody.
I mean, their American single malt is quite good.
It is so good. If you haven't, I don't even know where it's distributed, but if you're in Colorado, for sure go get it.
Yeah.
Their American single malt is amazing. Their bourbon it's as good as bourbon that's more 50% more expensive and 3 or 4 years older.
Yeah,
They just do things right.
I wouldn't say wow, but I would say, huh.
I'd say I am glad you paid $60 for that, and I will happily drink some of it with you.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I'm not unhappy to have it, and I think it's a good, you know, an interesting pour. If somebody comes to my garage and says, pour me something that's a little offbeat, this would be a good one. Because
I'll tell you this on the finish, and I do think the finish last, that oaky thing, that charry thing, not there at all. Lovely finish. And I am admittedly a huge wheated bourbon fan. I like wheat whiskeys. I like even the inexpensive Bernheim wheat whiskey. I think this stands up with Bernheim.
See, if I'm used to the oak at this point, you know, you get it right up front, but at the back, it's still that brown sugar that I got on the nose.
It's all sugary, just like that.
This, you know, I might upgrade a little bit. This is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, this isn't necessarily an open the bottle,
right?
But certainly you could do a video
I could.
in a month or two and go back to that and tell us what you think.
I will back to the bottle of this bad boy.
Good. This has been good. Good Friday
sips. Yeah.
If you have any questions about what we're doing with this or any opinions on what we should be drinking on Friday, let us know. One of the problems I in particular have, Dan has it too, is we have a whiskey buying problem. I have lots of bottles, and none of them are off limits. So if you got something you'd like to see us open, give an impression of it off the bat, let us know. We'll get it open here in the garage in the world headquarters and sip it right in front of you live. And maybe you'll get another chance to laugh at Dan because he can't get the cork out of a bottle. Maybe you won't.
Small hands.
You don't know.
They're kind of useless.
I mean, for a woodworker, I think you'd be better with the knife.
I'm a writer.
Or thank you for loosening it up so I can get it off so easy.
Excuse me, I've just got the whiskey's over there.
Good. That's wonderful. So, Mr. Cyclist Man.
Yeah. And if you happen to be free on Friday afternoons and want to have a little Friday sip with us, log in.
Message us.
Let's
Chat. Talk to us.
We're here.
Sip your own stuff. Tell us what you're drinking.
Yeah, that'd be cool, actually. That'd be really neat to know what you guys are all out there sipping.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Next week, tune in.